Nestled into a steep Japanese hillside, House Off the Ground by Nanometer architecture feels less like a conventional building and more like a thoughtful response to a landscape in motion. Rising 5 meters from the street to the rear of the lot, the site presented a maze of tight municipal building ratios, mandatory green space rules, and client requests for a low-maintenance, zero-garden home with rigid room dimensions. Architects Atsumi Nonaka and Yuki Mitani met these contradictory demands by lifting the living quarters entirely off the earth, crafting a lightweight pavilion of wood and steel that hovers above the slope. From high above the dense residential neighborhood, the house's distinct silhouette immediately catches the eye. While surrounding homes crowd their plots with traditional stepped foundations, this long, timber-clad volume floats cleanly over its sloped terrain, anchoring itself subtly against the hill. It's a striking aerial perspective that shows how the design respects strict building coverage limits while preserving the natural contour of the land beneath. Dropping down to street level, the dramatic structural strategy reveals itself in full. Black steel columns and exposed I-beams form a robust skeletal frame that lifts the primary wooden volume high above the front road, creating an open-air sheltered driveway underneath. Rather than fighting the steep incline with heavy retaining walls, a gabion stone base and a graceful concrete ramp invite visitors to ascend naturally along the slope. Stepping under the belly of the house, you enter a sheltered micro-landscape where architecture and topography coexist. The underside of the steel deck forms a dark ceiling overhead, while gravel, terraced ground cover, and stepping stones trace the natural hill beneath. Here, the architects satisfied municipal green space requirements without burdening the owners with garden upkeep, letting the sheltered slope remain simple and raw. As you move along the side of the building, a smooth concrete pathway curves gently upward, following the slope toward the main entrance. The exterior composition becomes strikingly clear. Continuous horizontal ribbon windows slice through dark vertical timber siding, bounded by prominent steel I-beams running along the top and bottom. This delicate balance of heavy steel rails and warm timber gives the long structure a sense of dynamic weightlessness. Reaching the top of the path and stepping inside, the raw outdoor journey gives way to a refined, tranquil interior. Low-profile gray floor tiles at the entryway transition smoothly into warm wooden floorboards, while an exposed corrugated steel ceiling painted in soft gray hints at the structural framework above. A sculptural ring light casts a gentle glow over a gray-tiled storage block that discreetly divides the entry from the private living quarters beyond. Stepping further into the heart of the home opens up a sweeping view down the entire length of the main living floor. Flanked by continuous horizontal windows on both sides, light pours across long wooden countertops and built-in cabinetry that hug the perimeter. In the center sits a minimalist dark gray kitchen island, framed beneath an expansive exposed steel ceiling deck that emphasizes the room's generous, open, linear proportions. Moving closer to one of the side walls, the integrated perimeter furniture reveals its quiet functionality. Low-profile wooden shelving stretches beneath the long ribbon windows, seamlessly expanding into a dedicated study desk bathed in soft daylight. Sitting here offers an intimate connection to the surrounding neighborhood, while keeping the desk area bright, airy, and free of visual clutter. At the center of the main floor, a freestanding dark gray vanity unit acts as a subtle spatial anchor. Outfitted with twin stone vessel sinks, matte black fixtures, and overhead spotlights, this utility block divides the open floor plan without building solid walls. Views flow freely over and past the vanity unit, preserving a sense of continuous light and spaciousness throughout the level. Continuing past the vanity leads to the wet area, where the indoor experience connects directly back to the hillside outside. Sliding glass doors beside the bath corridor open out onto the sheltered slope, allowing fresh breezes and soft, indirect sunlight to filter through the space. The contrast between smooth wooden floors, clean gray wall paneling, and the raw gravel terrain just outside creates a tranquil, spa-like atmosphere. Ascending into the upper mezzanine level brings you closer to the structural soul of the building. Here, the exposed painted steel floor decking overhead, paired with diagonal tension rod bracing, creates an industrial yet weightless aesthetic. Partition walls rise partial heights to organize sleeping and storage alcoves, maintaining an open dialogue between the different vertical tiers of the home. Further along the mezzanine, a slatted timber floor section introduces light and airiness underfoot, allowing views to filter down to the lower level. Crisp wooden guardrails line the edge of the loft floor, contrasting beautifully with the white structural steel beams above. Low horizontal windows frame quiet views of neighboring roofs, reinforcing the feeling of living tucked safely among the treetops. To fully appreciate how these spatial layers come together, the site plan and ground level drawing illustrates the footprint of the home on its sloped lot. The plan highlights the strategic placement of the steel support columns and traces the curving outdoor pathway as it winds beneath the suspended volume, showing how little of the actual ground is touched by the building footprint. Looking at the main living floor plan, the linear clarity of the interior architecture becomes even clearer. The long, rectangular footprint is neatly organized around the central kitchen island and vanity core, bounded on both sides by unbroken stretches of built-in counters that maximize usable space within rigid, predetermined room dimensions. The upper level plan reveals the loft and mezzanine layout suspended within the high ceiling envelope. By inserting partial upper platforms and open light wells above the main floor, the design introduces valuable multi-purpose space and vertical openness without exceeding the strict height or building coverage constraints imposed on the project. Finally, the building section drawing provides a complete longitudinal view of the project's structural mechanics. It clearly captures how the house perches over the 5-meter incline, supported on slender steel posts at key intervals. The section demonstrates how Nanometer architecture lifted the domestic spaces off the ground to balance strict local codes, client demands, and complex terrain into one cohesive architectural gesture. House Off the Ground is a masterclass in turning site challenges and stringent constraints into refined architectural poetry. By elevating the living space on a steel framework, Atsumi Nonaka and Yuki Mitani of Nanometer architecture honored the steep topography while creating an airy, light-filled sanctuary for their clients. It stands as a compelling example of how thoughtful engineering and sensitive material choices can elevate modern residential living above the ground.